The Ukrainians launched, according to the story, two brigades, two of their 12 new brigades. I think it was the 24th and the 31st. These are NATO equipped, NATO trained. These are the guys that we've been waiting for. These are the ones. So that's why when people say, well, we don't know. No, I'm telling you right now, they put two of the top brigades into combat. And the best these brigades do is advance 700 meters and gain access to a couple villages. And then they all died. That's what happened. Where are the rest of the brigades? There's 12 of them in total. You know, you cannot win a fight unless you sustain the momentum. You know, the term here is momentum. And the Ukrainians have momentum. They don't have anything, General. Their forces have never been able to even get traction. They have been destroyed piecemeal. They brought in two brigades. They committed 6 battalions, and these battalions got slaughtered as they moved forward, made a small indentation in the initial line of defense, and then the Russians hit them with everything they had that they've been waiting for, and that was it. If this was momentum, there would have been 2 more brigades immediately following up. And they would have gone another 700 meters. And then the next momentum would have been 2 more brigades immediately following it up. And you keep pushing until you get the breakthrough, and then a breakthrough force comes through. But the moment you start and stop and you lose literally 1/6 of your assault force that has been building up for 8 months, this is doomed to fail. And this is the sad reality of it. You know, the Russians admitted 71 dead and 240 wounded. That's big casualties, guys. I mean, go back to, you know, Vietnam or anything. That's significant casualties. It's not as though nothing's happening, but it's a drop in the bucket. The Russians haven't lost anything compared to the Ukrainians. The Russians can do this all day long. You don't take 2 of the elite brigades and sacrifice them in a reconnaissance force. A reconnaissance force, first of all, isn't done with 2 brigades.
Yeah.
It's usually done with a reinforced battalion. You go in there and you do your thing. You don't. The other key aspect of reconnaissance forces, you don't decisively engage. You push until they push back. You engage. You get some commitment, and then you pull back. It's not meant to be a suicide mission. Military advantage. I think some people have said that when you empty the reservoir, it makes it easier for a riverine crossing. That's okay if you're an army that is capable of assembling that kind of force, meaning that you're going to build a bridge. You're going to establish a bridge across a river obstacle. But you need air defense. You need the ability to project power across the bridge to defend the bridgehead. And it takes time. This doesn't happen instantaneously. Understand that Russia will destroy whatever effort is being done even before it gets assembled, because they have their air force with their standoff bombing capability. And NATO knows this, and Ukraine knows this. So the notion that Ukraine is being clever here by draining the reservoir for some genius offensive operation is absurd in the extreme. Ukraine doesn't have the ability to accumulate that kind of force. This wasn't done for military advantage by Ukraine. This was done for political purposes. This was an act of terrorism, eco-terrorism, that was done to generate enthusiasm, if you want to use that word, amongst the West for hating Russia again. It was waning. The counteroffensive has failed. While there still may be some fighting ahead, and I expect there will be, I think it was clear to everybody that this has no chance. And people were talking about it beforehand. There's an important NATO meeting coming up in Vilnius. And if Ukraine doesn't find a way to generate Western support, it's all over. It's all she wrote. It's done, because there's nothing left in NATO to give. There's nothing left for NATO to give. They can talk about F-16 fighters. That just isn't even realistic. It's not going to happen. And if it does happen, it'll be a huge embarrassment to everybody involved. So this was an act of eco-terrorism carried about the Ukrainians. And, there's a couple reasons why they would do this. First of all, understand what they just did. They destroyed Kherson. one of the major cities of Ukraine, the capital of the Kherson Oblast or district. Why? Because they know, and I think Ukraine has just admitted that they're going to lose everything. That the at least the initial Russian objective of reclaiming all of the territory that belongs to Russia, that is the totality of Kherson, Zaporizhia, Donetsk, Lugansk, that this is inevitable, that this will happen. So what they're doing is making it as expensive as possible for Russia down the road, because Vladimir Putin has said his number one goal and objective is the economic and social reconstruction, rehabilitation of these territories. They just made the rehabilitation of Kherson a multi-billion-dollar proposition. So this is their way of jamming it to the Russians. They've also created a ecological disaster in the Black Sea that Russia is going to have to deal with. This was terrorism, pure and simple. I think everybody needs to understand what happened here. This was the Ukrainians, in an act of spite, committing economic and political terrorism against.
Thanks, Liam Cosgrove with the Gray Zone. Quick question on the Kokova Dam explosion. So several European politicians have come out and were quick to blame Russia, saying, this is an example of Russian terrorism. But if you look at the context, the dam was in Russian-occupied territory. The Ukrainian Ecological League said this could leave Crimea without water for over a decade. And there were reports in the Washington Post last year that Ukrainian soldiers were explicitly looking at targeting this dam as part of a strategy to flood the region and prevent further Russian advancements. And they even fired a couple HIMARS missiles into it to test that theory. So can the DoD share any evidence as to who might have done this? And are you entertaining the possibility that it might have been Ukraine?
Yeah, well, like as you heard us say, we're continuing to assess how this could have happened. So, all great questions, but at this point, it's all speculation. And so, I'm not going to get into hypotheticals or speculate.